What is an RSS feed anyway, and how do people even find my podcast? How does this work, Zoe? You're listening to the Victorian Podcasters Podcast, your bite-sized slice of podcasting know-how. We're all about connecting Victorian podcasters, newbies, pros, and the I'm gonna crowd. We'll put your money where your mouth is and join our emailing list and Facebook and LinkedIn groups for exclusive updates, resources, and our community Q&A, because podcasting doesn't have to be a solo gig. Vic Podcasters is proudly produced on Wadawurrung land. This is part 2 of a 2-part mini-series about podcast hosting, how it works, and what it's all about. Last episode, we talked about everything about what exactly a podcast host is, and we used the library analogy, where a podcast episode is a book, and a host platform is a library where those books are kept, and it keeps all those details and a place where people can get your podcast episode. Now let's talk about the actual mechanics on how that works, and how it's distribution, how people get your book or your podcast episode. Your podcast host, whatever platform you choose, again, free or paid, find that all out in the last episode, gives you a magical link called an RSS feed. Repeat it again, R, the letter R, S, S feed. And this magical link is what you give Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, all those other podcast platforms, which they help distribute your podcasts. Think of them more like the people that actually go and collect the book for you, for example. They don't own the library, but they go in and get the book for you. Those are distributors. And with that RSS link, you only need to upload your podcast to one place. It appears everywhere else automatically, and that is the absolute beauty of it. A little checklist for those who maybe have not done this process before, or who are starting out. When it comes to getting your podcast out there, you need to do a couple of things. You need to sign up to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, which I think may be officially dead, but that is now YouTube Podcasts. And there is also Amazon Audible, Pocket Casts, and many, many more. But ultimately, what you want to do is submit your art, create an account. And with Apple Podcasts, it's a little bit more annoying. You need to be able to give a credit card, but we'll go through that in a later date. And you need to provide your RSS feed to them so then they can auto-update every time you have a new episode, so it's available for everyone to download. Now, Zoe, that was a lot of things that you just said. Why does this even matter? Why does this care? And we have a lot of podcasters in the Vic Podcasters who just use Spotify or just use a limited distribution platform for their podcast. And I'm going to tell you now that more listeners equals more reach. Not everyone listens to Spotify, and not everyone has that ability to listen on Spotify. When you limit yourself to one platform, yes, it might be easier for you, but that means that it's harder for people who have a third-party podcasting app, or maybe just use an app that is not necessarily one of the big three to listen to their podcasts. And they still want to listen to you too. So do not deny them, especially when you're only going to spend maybe 30 minutes setting up these other platforms, and with a magical link that is already generated for you. So let's do it. G'day listener, I'm just pausing your podcasting experience to let you know that I have my own podcast, the Unboring Your Brand podcast. It's branding, but make it unboring. Smashing your goals while laughing and listening to Unboring Your Brand podcast. Check it out wherever your podcatcher says that you can. You can find the one that's by the Video Confidence Coach. And that's me. And now back to your scheduled programming. And once you're further along on your podcasting journey, or for those of us who have been podcasting for a while, we can also use these same distribution channels to provide us some bonuses on using these platforms. For example, things like monetization, you can use them through the platforms. You can use cool promo tools. Usually when they're trying to get people on board to sign up, you can use those tools. And they provide you different analytics, so you've got more data to use to be able to better your podcast and better your ability to run a podcast. Things I want to let you know about when it comes to podcasts. So things to watch out for in the space. A couple of years ago, and probably when you listen to this, it'll be even more a couple of years ago, Spotify bought Anchor, which was a free podcasting platform, and now they have merged. It does make greater ease, but it is not great for stats. Whatever works or floats your boat, it is free, but again, as we said in the last episode, pros and cons, there's going to be a couple of things here and there. Always keep your original RSS feed. So even if you do switch hosts in the future due to like maybe they close down or the business doesn't run anymore or what have you, you're able to keep your original RSS feed. And if you switch hosts, it is a must. So everything continues to work in the background and it doesn't completely go into a ball of flames when something outside of your control happens. And always make sure to double check, even triple check, your episode titles and descriptions across every distribution platform. Now, of course, you don't have to do this for every single episode, but check in maybe every 5 or 10 episodes or so, just to make sure the information that you are putting in there is getting distributed out to everyone who is interested in your podcast and it's saying the same thing. We don't want to make liars out of ourselves. So from here, what I would love for you to do is to research a podcast title and see where it shows up. Maybe it's showing up only in Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but it can be showing up in multiple places. Double and triple check your RSS feed is active and the correct one. You've seen a dramatic drop in people accessing your podcast. It could be a case that the RSS feed is broken and none of these platforms are telling you, so always check those. And make sure that your artwork, that your podcast cover looks great on every platform. So how small and how big can it get? Always make sure you check that. And the last thing I want to touch on before we leave you today is what equipment do I need to record a podcast? Is episode 6 back in the archive that will help you figure out to now that you have the details on how to distribute a podcast, what a podcast host is and where to go from here, now it's time to actually start recording. And if you don't have equipment, that is a good episode to start with. That's a wrap. Remember, we're here every week to share quick tips, updates, and the occasional bad joke. Feeling inspired? Good. Now hit record or go to the show notes of this episode for a backstage pass experience of the Victorian podcasting scene. The Vic Podcasters would like to acknowledge and pay our respects to the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians on the land on which we work, live, and play. We pay our respects to their elders past and present. We stand with the traditional custodians of these lands in working towards a more equal future. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. And remember, podcasting doesn't have to be a solo gig.